Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Passions Podcast, the podcast where we talk about the soap opera passions. I am your regular host, LeTara, back today with Shane. Welcome back, Shane, except not welcome back because we have already been on this call for over 2 hours, have we not?
We have, yes.
Yeah, so we're into part 2 of last week's episodes. We're going to be talking about the magic and fated couple storylines of episodes 851 through 855. And yeah, we're gonna jump in. But before I do that, gonna give a shout out to the patrons over on Patreon. Thank you to Muna Shea, Lisa S, Zach, Sid, Sarana, Randall, Hannah, Camelia, Jeanette, Eric, Fantasia, Sean S, Larissa, Maria, Lisa A, Jessica Jean, Laura, Karen, Uche, Justin, Paige, Casey, Garage, Tom Bergeron, Daisy, Shane, Kelly C, Kelly C, Taylor Harris Crane, DJ, Kelly M, Rodo, and Lisa R. Thank you all so much for being patrons. And if you would like to become a patron, go over to patreon.com/passionspodcast and sign up for whatever tier you find most agreeable. I will say, I should have said this last week, but I am going on my summer break soon. I'm not entirely sure because I have to reschedule. Me, Maria, and maybe Uche were supposed to record next week, but I had scheduled it for my dad's birthday, which I'm going home to visit him specifically for his birthday, so I'm not going to be able to record. So we're trying to figure out if we're going to be able to do another episode or not. So I may be going on my break a little sooner. So when I go on my hiatus, for those of you who don't know, I pause the Patreon. So if you're on the Patreon, you won't get charged. So I just keep that in mind. I am going to be pausing the Patreon soon until I come back in September. So with that, on with the show. Magic. Where's my... honestly, I shouldn't even use this. Because there's like no Tabitha in this. It's really honestly, none of this is really magic centered, with the exception of like Charity having premonitions. But we keep them in the magic storyline, so that's what we're doing here. But this week it was all about Kay, honey. This week it was all about Kay. So let's jump in. A reminder that last week Miguel was going to take a shower. Do you remember what happened last week that led up to... There was like a little kerfuffle, and it had to do with... Oh, I remember now. Miguel thought that Kay had told Charity that they had slept together because Charity had visitors, those Connie and Cecil in their Halloween costumes, who told her that Miguel had slept with Kay and that basically she was trying to break them up, right? And so Miguel has a kind of intense conversation with Kay where he accuses her of being the one who told Charity the truth, and she's like, no, I didn't. And when she says that, Grace and Sam show up, and Grace immediately says like, oh my God, Kay, what did you do to Charity? I knew that whatever crisis she's having was because of you. And she's like blaming Kay. So I feel like that's a very important thing to keep in mind, is that that's where we started this whole like situation with Kay and Grace and Sam and Miguel. So Miguel decides after that, he tells them like, no, something weird happened with Charity. Kay saying it wasn't her. Right? Miguel decides he's going to go take a shower. Eve tells him that he can go take a shower in the on-call room where the doctors are supposed to, again, because Eve is a terrible doctor, so she doesn't care about the rules in this hospital, even though the on-call room has a big sign that says doctors only or staff only or something like that. It's like, sure, Miguel, child, teenager, go to, places where you're completely unauthorized to be in the hospital.
Because she is the rules, like Luis is the law.
Exactly. I am the rules around here. In Harmony Hospital, I am the rules. So he goes to take a shower in the on-call room or, dormitory or whatever. And Kay decides this is a perfect opportunity for me to seduce Miguel's again, right? So she goes, gets naked, gets in the shower with him. He uses his free will and starts making out with her. I want to be clear. Miguel is using his free will. Nobody's forcing him to do anything at all.
No.
And they make out because she gets in the shower. I will give this to him, I guess. He is startled when she gets in. He's like, oh my God, Kate, what are you doing here? You can't do this. And then she just like pulls him in and then they kiss. She kisses him. He kisses her back. He doesn't push her off. He doesn't tell her to get out of the shower. He had every opportunity. Like if somebody got in the shower with me that I didn't want to be there, I would be causing a huge scene, right? I'm like, get the fuck out of here. What is wrong with you? I would jump out of the shower, right? No, Miguel just makes out with her because he's a bad guy. And so they make out for a little while, and then he finally kind of pulls away from her and says, I can't do this to Charity. And then she tells him she says, like, I can tell you want to do this, Miguel. Like, your body's calling out to me. Your body's screaming to me. And he says, like, oh, of course, I'm just a normal guy. I actually think I have the quotes. So Miguel says, Kay, I can't do this. This is wrong. And she says, of course you can. Your mind is saying no, but your body is saying yes, Miguel. And we watched this on a watch party, and Kelly, I can't remember which Kelly. I know which Kelly. Kelly M. Kelly was like, isn't that an R. Kelly quote? And she is absolutely right. I cracked up. I was like, oh my God. And it's crazy because Kay is very R. Kelly coded, right? Like she did assault Miguel, right? And so like that portion of it isn't funny, but it is, I don't know, the fact that Passions used R. Kelly in this instance, because I feel like that's very deliberate. Your mind's telling me no. Like, come on.
Yeah, because this was around the time Trapped in the Closet was a thing, right? This was around the time that Trapped in the Closet was really hitting it big.
Yeah, maybe. I think, yeah, it might be around you know what? I have the internet and free will. I can look it up. I think it was maybe around the Ignition time.
Oh, okay.
It's the remix to Ignition, hot and fresh out the kitchen. Y'all know that song. Trapped in the Closet. Trapped in the Closet came out in the year of our Lord 2005. It started in 2005
so
2012,
still
so it's a little
years
sooner. I mean, yeah, we're a little early, but that's a quote from Bump and Grind. You know that song? I don't see nothing wrong with a little bump and grind. That's what that quote is. Which is just so funny. In the context of 2025, it's like, ugh. But in the context of 2002, it's perfect, right? So anyway, she tells him, your mind's saying no, but your body's saying yes, Miguel. I can feel it when you kiss me. You kiss me back. You want this. You know you want me. Okay. And she's not wrong. And she says, come on, Miguel, you know you want to do this. Your body remembers making love to me, and it wants to feel that way again, doesn't it? And Miguel says, no, I can't do this. I can't do this to Charity. I love her. And then she says, but you can't deny that you want to make love to me. Your body is screaming out for this, isn't it? And he says, okay, yes, all right, it is. I'm a normal guy. I'm naked in the shower with a beautiful woman. I mean, what guy wouldn't want to make love to you? But I can't betray Charity. I call bullshit. Because if you don't want to be with somebody, then you would have gotten out. If you really didn't want, if you really couldn't do it to Charity, then you wouldn't do it to Charity.
Yeah, right? You're absolutely right. That's exactly what he keeps saying. I don't want to do this. We can't do this. But he never leaves. He never stops it.
He never leaves. He never gets out of the shower. He has every opportunity to. He can get past her. She's just a girl after all. And apparently he's a football player or something. But anyway, and I'm not advocating for him to use like unnecessary force on her, but she's assaulting you. Move her, push her. That's okay. I would be perfectly fine with that. So yeah, he says, I can't betray Charity. And the only thing Kay pulled from that, right? He says, I'm a normal guy. I'm naked in the shower with a beautiful woman. I mean, what guy wouldn't want to make love to you, but I can't betray Charity. She says, you think I'm beautiful?
That's all she heard. That's the only thing that she got from that.
That's all she heard. You think I'm beautiful? And he says, of course I do. But that's beside the point. I love Charity. He said, and she says, well, you can love her, but want me. And he says, I told you no, I can't do this. And she says, you've already done it. And he was like, well, that was a mistake. And she said, a mistake? Miguel, it was the most meaningful night of my life. And you're calling it a mistake? Yes, girl, we've been through this. Whenever she gets very upset about him not being overjoyed that they had sex, it bothers me because, one, she assaulted him. She knows what she did to him. It would be different if, like, maybe they were both drunk and, you know, it happened and it meant more to her than it meant to him. But that's not what happened at all. That's what she's trying to make it seem like happened, but that's not what happened at all. She took full advantage of him. So it bothers me when she tries to kind of make it seem like she's some sort of victim when she victimized him in the first place. But anyway,
exactly.
Yeah, he tells her, I don't want to hurt you, but you know that I thought I was making love to Charity. That's the only reason it happened, and I'm not going to let it happen again. I love Charity. I'm not going to do this to her. So then he gets out of the shower, but he doesn't stay out of the shower very long, does he?
Nope, not at all.
Again, we were watching this on the watch party. I was shook. I was shocked, shook, shaken, stirred. I was all the things because Miguel gets out of the shower like he's gonna leave. And then Kay kind of reaches out to him and entices him back in. She's like, no, Miguel, just one last time, okay? Just one more time. Charity never even has to know. Just one last time. One last time. And then he gets back in the shower. Y'all, I was shocked. I was like, I really couldn't believe it. I was like, oh, Miguel's worse than I thought. And I already had a pretty low opinion of him. And I was like, no, Miguel's worse than I thought. And he got back in the shower and they start to make out some more. And they are going for it. They were going to have shower sex, which is kind of advanced for two people who just became non-virgins. Sex in the shower is a tough thing to navigate. So I just, kudos to them, I guess. And so they get back in the shower. Meanwhile, Charity's in her room and she has this premonition of someone trying to take Miguel away from her. And it's a premonition where she actually sees Miguel and Kay together, kissing, making out. Is this the one? I feel like there's been a few different premonitions. She has had so many clues about this. And it's not her fault though. Everybody specifically Miguel keeps gaslighting her about it, saying like, no, you're wrong. There's nothing, it's not true. So I can't remember if this was the premonition where the fire came up between her and them. Did the fire do you remember that?
No, I think it was just all the water, wasn't it?
Maybe. There's one with fire, there's one with water, there's like so much. But yeah, she has a premonition where she sees them basically making love. And Grace comes in and Charity explains what she saw to Grace, except she doesn't tell her that she saw Kay in her premonition. She like leaves that out. But Grace pressures her about like, who did you see trying to take Miguel away from you? Like, who did you see? And she finally tells her, yeah, it was Kay. And Grace tells her, there's nothing to worry about, honey. Miguel loves you. Just go back to bed, lay down. You don't need to be worried. You just had heart surgery. So just, everything's fine. Miguel loves you. But Grace has a little inkling. So she goes off looking for her daughter. She's like, where is Grace? I mean, not Grace. She's like, where is Kay? I'm going to find her. What are you up to now, Kay? And so Grace goes off looking for Kay in the hospital. Charity also goes off looking for Miguel instead of laying down, right? She's like, no, I have to find Miguel. I have to find him. And so she searches for a while and then she finds him. You're right, it was the water. I'm remembering now because she was seeing basically what was happening in the shower. So yeah, this one was the one with the water. The last one was the one with the fire. Okay, figured that out. She goes into the on-call room and she calls after, like, Miguel, are you in here? Kay hides. He jumps out of the shower in his towel and puts on his towel. And she tells him about her premonition, that she saw him like making love to Kay. And he gaslights her big time. He says, no, you're just thinking, you're just tired. Like, that would never happen. You need to stop worrying about things that can't happen, that won't happen. Miguel is a bad guy. He takes her back to her room where he continues to just lie and lie and lie to her, tells her not to worry about anything. He tells her that maybe she imagined the kids that told her about him and Kay, or maybe it was just a dream. Maybe you imagined it. Maybe it's just a dream. You're just tired. They always telling her she's tired. And she says to him, I know that you would never make love to Kay because you told me that you didn't. And I know you wouldn't lie to me. That's the one thing that I can count on. My trust in your love. Girl. Okay. You need to trust in your brain. You need to trust in yourself, because Charity has not been wrong about often.
No.
She hasn't. So, anyway. This is when Grace sees Charity and Miguel leaving the on-call room, and she gets an inkling like, I wonder if Kay is in there. So she goes in there. Kay thinks it's Miguel coming back. She's like, Miguel, you came back. And she's fully naked in a corner of a shower, right? And Grace looks at her and says, you tramp! Tramp to your daughter is crazy.
It really is. I was surprised Grace called her a tramp.
I wasn't. Grace has been on one about Kay for quite some time, to be honest. And not to give Grace too much credit or grace, right? Because I hated this. It pissed me off. I was actually like, what the hell, Grace? Like, your daughter is clearly upset. She's crying. She's naked in a shower in a random place. Like, she's clearly going through something, and she's a child. She's 18 years old, a baby, really. So I did hate that Grace did that, but then I also, not to give her too much, but Grace is at her wit's end with Kay. Like, Grace is like fed the fuck up with Kay, and in a way, in a very, 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 very small way, I kind of get it, because sometimes when you are dealing with children, you have to constantly be handling them with like kid gloves, and you have to constantly kind of be like handling them in a very like a gentle way, but they're not always gentle with you, right? No. and so it's very easy that, I mean, look, I don't believe in like hitting children, but that's one of the things that like so many people spank and whoop their children because they get so fed up and wound up. I'm not defending it. I don't think it's right. I don't believe in it. But, I know the emotions that might bubble up in a person that pushes her to the point to call her a tramp. That's what I'm trying. I guess that's all I'm trying to say, is that she's kind of at the end of her rope with Kay. And as a person who like was in the classroom where you have to like constantly be watching what you say to children and constantly like just controlling yourself, but nobody else is controlling themselves. He's like, you might have a little, I will say, I never cursed at a child. I never ever cursed at a child, but I did turn my back on my classroom and breathe under my breath, shut the fuck up, so many times. So many times. It just needed to come out. It didn't have to be directed at somebody, but it needed to come out of my body. I just would turn around and be like, shut the fuck up. But listen, I'm not in the classroom anymore, and that's probably for the best. So anyway, she calls her a tramp. And this, of course, hurts Kay's feelings. And Grace pretty much immediately tries to apologize, but the damage is done. And Grace says, Kay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. I never should have called you such a terrible name. And Kay says, why not? That's what you really think of me, isn't it, Mom? And Grace says, no, you know what? You want to role play?
I don't think I have all the words.
No, I'm going to send it to you.
Okay, yeah.
No, I'm going to send this to you. I'm going to make a little link, put it in the Control C. Oh, you know what? I'll just share this note with you and then tell you exactly where it is on copy link. And then we can role play.
Absolutely.
Do you want to be Grace or you want to be Kay?
I'll be Grace.
Okay, perfect, because I want to be Kay. Where's my chat? Here it is. Paste.
Kay and Grace, I think. Yep, got it.
Yep. All right. She says, Kay, why not? Okay, okay, you ready?
Yes.
It's a role play. I love this. Okay, so you're gonna be Grace. Grace, Kay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. Okay, so action.
Kay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. I should have never called you such a terrible name.
Why not? That's what you really think of me, isn't it, Mom?
No, Kay, that is not what I think of you. But how could you do this? You were in there with Miguel, weren't you? Did Charity see you?
No, Mom. Your precious Charity didn't see me, okay?
Kay, Miguel is Charity's boyfriend. He made it clear he doesn't want to be with you. Don't you have any self-respect? I mean, what is wrong with you?
What's wrong with me? What's wrong with you? You come in here and you find your daughter in pain and crying and all you can do is attack me?
Kay.
No, it doesn't matter. You're right. Miguel said he doesn't love me, okay?
Sweetheart, I'm so sorry.
Oh, no, you're not. I'm in the most pain I've ever been in my entire life, and all you can do is just call me names and treat me like a piece of trash?
Sweetie, I know you're in pain, and I'm sorry.
Forget it, Mom, okay? Because I know how you really feel about me.
Kay, obviously you don't. Kay, look, you are my daughter, and I love you. But what you are doing is wrong, and I can't condone it. You're trying to make Miguel stay away from Charity. She's your cousin.
Mom, I loved him first.
But he doesn't love you. He loves Charity and she loves him.
Thanks for rubbing it in.
Kay, look, you brought this on yourself and you are going to have to let it go. Miguel is never going to leave Charity for you, and I hate seeing you in this much pain.
No, you don't, Mom. All you care about is Charity.
That's not true. Kay, you have to know that what you were doing is wrong. You have to give up obsessing over Miguel.
No!
For your own sake.
Mom, I am not going to give up on Miguel. Never. And scene. And you know what? Good job. Good job.
Thank you.
And also now you have access to my crazy fucking notes. So anyway, that is the scene. That's what happens. Kay storms off and Sam comes in and finds Grace in distress, right? Mm-hmm. And she explains what she has seen and what happened between her and Kay. She doesn't fully explain it. Like, she clearly does not tell him that she called her a tramp. And he tells her, well, that doesn't sound like Kay. Like, Miguel must be leading her on. Miguel must have led her on. And he says Kay would never be so brazen. I love that he thinks better of his daughter than Grace does.
I was getting ready to say, I love that he's so Team Kay most of the time, even though Kay is not the best person sometimes. But during this rewatch, I've definitely sided with Kay over Charity.
Absolutely. And like, Miguel has led her on, to be honest.
Mm-hmm,
like,
he has.
Miguel has led her on. He has also very firmly told her he wants to be with Charity and not her. So, you know, she needs to let it go. But I appreciate Sam for being more fatherly than Grace is motherly, to be honest. So, Grace says, no, Miguel hasn't let her on. He hasn't taken her up on any of her advances. Little do you know that they were just in the shower together making out. He was about to fuck her of his own free will. Like, the first time he didn't know what was going on, fine. But now, come on, Miguel. And so then she says, where did I go wrong? And Sam calls her a wonderful mother. Don't know about all that.
She's a wonderful mother, like Eve is a doctor.
Yeah, she's as good of a mother as Eve is a doctor. That is exactly right. And so Kay is very upset. She encounters Simone, whom she brings up to speed about what has gone on in the on-call room and with her mom and everything. Simone is angry, as always. She tells Kay that if she seduces Miguel, that everyone will hate her for it. Her mom, her dad, Charity, everyone will hate her for seducing Miguel if she does that. But like, what part does Miguel play in all of this? Right? But that's very on par for Simone, right? That she has absolved the boy of all wrongdoing, and Kay, the woman, is the 100% the problem. And and everybody will hate her, and nobody will have an issue with what Miguel did to Charity, because the betrayal, yes, the betrayal of Charity is by Kay as well, especially since they're cousins, they're family. You knew we were together. Kay definitely has a part in the betrayal, but Miguel is her boyfriend. No, her fiance at this point, right?
Yes.
That's a much, in my opinion, that's almost a bigger betrayal, right? Like, you did if we're looking at it at 100% of who did the most betrayal, right? I'm going to say that it would be more on the Miguel scale, right? Like, that's more hurtful. Your fiance has cheated on you, right?
Absolutely.
So, anyway, yeah, Simone says this dumb shit about everyone will hate you and because you seduced Miguel, and your mother and your father will hate you. No, okay, girl, bye. So, you go off and go live in your delusion. Go do that. So if Charity believes that you and Miguel, this is another thing Simone said. If Charity believes that you and Miguel made love, everyone will turn against you, and Miguel will never want to be with you. This is when Sam and Grace find Kay and talking with Simone, and Kay says, I have nothing to say to Grace. Like, I have nothing to say to her. Because Sam's like, we need to talk about this as a family, and Kay's like, I don't have anything to say to her. And then Miguel, who's busy doing his little gaslighting thing with Charity, sees them out in the hallway and says to Charity that it's time for them to be open and honest about everything, and they have to put everything out in the open. And so he calls the Bennetts into his room, and Simone. He says, we need to be honest with you all. And he very specifically says, I need to be honest about something, and it has to do with me, Charity, and Kay. I don't know why he would say that, because the next thing he says he needs to announce is their engagement, right? He's like, yeah, I didn't get it. I didn't get it.
I honestly thought most of them knew at that point, but I guess Grace and Sam didn't. Simone and Kay definitely knew already, but...
Exactly. And
but it's the night that never ends, so that probably happened 3 weeks ago, real life time. But in Passion's time, it was like 2 hours ago.
I know, it's insane. It's actually insane to think about how long we've been in this day/night. It's crazy. I need to go back and see how many episodes this lasts. Actually, if anybody out there wants to do that math for me, thank you. I'm thanking you in advance. And so, yeah, they all come in. He announces to everyone that he and Charity are getting married, that they are engaged, that they've already talked to Father Lonigan about pre-Cana counseling, which I had to look up because he said it in Father Lonigan mentioned it in an older episode, and I didn't understand what he was saying, so I couldn't look it up. But this time I understood what he was saying, so I looked it up, and basically it's just like premarital counseling for Catholics. And so he says that, sorry. Sam says oh, but you're so young. And he's like, yeah, I know we're young, but We already know what we want. There's no one else in either of our lives, and there never will be. When he said that, he was looking directly at Kay.
Mm-hmm.
He was looking directly at Kay. It was weird. He's such a weirdo.
He is.
Like, he's so weird. I'm sorry if I'm Kay, I'm blowing this spot up. But she still wants to be with Miguel. She knows if she like ruins this moment for him or comes clean in this moment, he probably won't ever talk to her again. At least that's probably her fear. Yeah, but I would be pissed off, so I would blow the spot up. But Kay's not doing that. Anyway.
No.
So Grace and Sam they congratulate them. It's funny because they kind of look back, both kind of look back at Kay like, Kay, you know, and then they congratulate Charity and then Kay says, and Charity says, and Kay, I still want you to be my maid of honor, to show those weird kids that I don't believe what they said about you and Miguel. What?
And I think she also adds, you're probably getting ready to say this, but she adds because Miguel said it involved like all three of them. That's what it was.
Yeah, exactly. Because Miguel had said that. And so she's like, and that's why you wanted Kay, right? Because you wanted to make sure she still wanted to be my maid of honor. He's like, yeah, that's exactly what it was. That's why I included Kay. And yeah. And that said that this involved all three of us, even though it absolutely does not. And so they all go back into the hallway with the exception of Miguel and Charity, who stay in the hospital room. They go back into the hallway and have this very intense conversation. And I'm about to play that scene for you now. Let me just pull it up. Because this was great.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I don't know. I just loved this. So
I did too.
Okay. Your mother needs to talk to you.
Why? So she can call me a tramp again? Or worse?
What?
Okay, I apologized for that. When I found Kay in the shower after she tried to seduce Miguel, I just lost it.
I don't have time for a warm, fuzzy family moment right now, guys, so I'm out of here.
No, Kay, you're not. You're gonna stay here and we're gonna talk about this.
You want to talk about me being a tramp, Mom? Let's talk about you being a tramp.
Kay!
No, Dad, I'm sorry. But you know what she's doing? She's leading you on. Well, she's lusting after David.
Okay, stop it.
No, Mom, you are such a hypocrite. I mean, you say that you're shoving Dad out of your bed because you want to set a good example for your kids, right? Because you're not legally married. Well, that's bull, Mom. You're pushing Dad away because you have the hots for David.
Kay, that is enough.
No, you want to call me a tramp? That's fine. But you know what? At least I'm honest about it, Mother. Because you lust after David and you don't admit it. And even worse, you hide behind the teachings of the church.
Tell her.
I'm a tramp. Well, you are a tramp and a liar.
I love that. Somehow there's more of this. Oh,
You will never talk to your mother that way again. Do you understand? Our relationship is none of your business. We are the parents, you are the child. Besides, your mother has told me that she loves me and wants to marry me. She doesn't want to be with David.
Dad, you are a really good man. But you're blinded by your love for her because I have actually seen what she's like.
Hey, what is wrong with you? You are my daughter.
Oh, would you just cut it out with the daughter crap? If that actually meant anything to you, then you would never take Charity's side over mine.
No, you just don't understand.
No, I understand perfectly. You know what? I'm gonna stay with Simone tonight.
No, we never said you could spend the night at the
So
Russells.
what, Mom? I'm 18. And if it's a problem, no worries. I'm a tramp, right? I'll just find the first guy I see on the street and shack up with him. How's that?
Kay, you come back.
Sam, just let her go. Eve will take care of her tonight.
watch how Simone goes past them.
Where did I go wrong?
Call me a tramp.
All right, so there's that. You know what? I kind of like this whole adding the clips in.
I do too.
I might start next season. I might like start pulling clips to put in the episodes. like whatever my favorite thing of the week was, because that was absolutely my favorite thing of the week.
Oh, it was the best part of the week.
Yeah, it was the best part of the entire week. I loved it. I loved everything Kay had to say. She was spot on the money when she said, "You hide behind the teachings of the church. I'm a tramp. Well, you are a tramp and a liar." Yes. Kay is she's just such a good character, and it's like they make it so easy to root for her because Grace is so incredibly unlikable and Charity's so incredibly unlikable. The only thing here though is I wish that she would have said to Sam that she saw Grace and David kissing like a long time ago. I wish she would have brought that up. God, I wish she would have brought that up. I'm a tramp. I saw you kissing David, a man who was not your husband, who, like as far as I knew at the time, was not your husband. I saw you kissing him when you were saying that you were trying to work things out with Daddy. So, yeah.
She had so much more ammunition she could have used, but she didn't.
But she didn't. Exactly, because I do think she loves her mom too, you know, and I don't think she has 100% decided that she doesn't want her parents to be together. I think she's getting there. But I don't know that she has 100% decided to like blow up their marriage entirely. So, yeah, that's really it for quote magic. Cecil and Connie, you know, they're running around throughout the week, but they do very little. We already talked about what they did with Eve. So that's really it. We didn't see Tabitha at all. So I had to wear my shirt. I have to wear my shirt so we get a little Tabitha representation.
That's the one character I missed this week. I was happy not to see John or David, but I missed Tabitha, and honestly, I missed Julian and Eve too.
Yeah.
Or not Eve. I'm sorry, I meant Ivy. I said Eve.
Ivy. Yeah. I miss Julian when he's not around. Yeah. So yeah, maybe we'll see more of them next week. Especially now that Eve's whole storyline with her past and stuff is starting to ramp up. We're definitely going to start seeing more of her and Julian, which is great. So yeah. So the next thing we're doing, our final storyline for the day, is fated couples: Theresa, Ethan, Gwen, and Chad and Whitney. Now, where should we start with this? Let's start with, you know what? Let's start with Chad and Whitney.
Okay.
Yeah, let's start with Chad and Whitney. So, Chad sneaks into Whitney's room through the window. She lets him in, obviously, because these two idiots are sneaking around behind Simone's back, on purpose now, entirely, like know exactly what they're doing. They have this quote plan that Whitney thought up, which is the same thing they had been doing before, but now it's like, but now the deception is more deliberate and intentional, which makes it so much worse than what they were doing before. Right? Because now the plan is for her to win a tennis tournament, or she pushing that off. At first it was just one, now it's like multiple. And for Chad to truly actually pretend to be Simone's boyfriend until she figures out that they're not right for each other. Like, you know how many people stay in absolutely shit relationships and marriages just to be with somebody?
Too many.
So many people do that. So just because somebody realizes, oh, we're not necessarily right for each other, it doesn't mean they're going to break up with you. They like just being with you.
This version of Simone would totally stay, I think.
Yeah, she is staying. She knows what's going on now, and she has decided to pretend like she doesn't. Yeah, we're finally up to that point, which I like. Is more interesting. So anyway, Chad sneaks into Whitney's room through the window. Whitney brings him up to speed on what happened with little Ethan when the baby died and nobody took him to the hospital. And she says it made her think about, you know, life and their situation with Simone. And then he kisses her to try to make her shut up, saying like, you need to forget about everyone except for us. And then he puts on some romantic music. He gives her favorite flowers. He pulls out some Chinese takeout out of his bag. He lights 1,000,000 candles.
You say he also pulled out 12 candles.
He lights 1,000,000 candles. And Whitney loves this. She tells him, oh, this is the most romantic thing that's ever happened to anyone. Girl, your standards are low. And he tells her, since we have to sneak around and we can't be out in public, I thought this was like the next best thing to have like a little date here. Why at that Russell home? Why not invite Whitney to the studio and lock the doors, right? Because the first time they made love, they did it at the studio, and Simone did walk in, not necessarily on them, but she was able to like come in because she knew where the spare key was. So to fix this situation, take Whitney to the studio, move the spare key so Simone can't get in or nobody can get in, and then y'all can have like a nice romantic night without the concern that her sister, her mother, or her father will find y'all together. Right? This was odd. It's sweet but odd to me, and it's an odd choice, especially if you're trying to actually be sneaking around. So they start to kiss. They're enjoying their little date. Then they make love. They start to make love, and Kay and Simone at this point show up to the house because, like we just saw, Kay is staying the night at the Russell home. So Kay and Simone show up to the house after everything at the hospital. Kay tells Simone that she has to be ruthless to get her man and be more like Kay and be ruthless, blah, 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 right? And then she advises her, she says, if I were you, I would go into Whitney's room right now just to like check on her, pretend like you're her best friend. Don't let her get suspicious. The less that Whitney thinks that you have an idea of what's going on with her and Chad, the better chance you have of screwing up her intentions. That's what Kay tells her. It's a very clunky line, but hopefully that made sense.
Yes.
But before she goes into Whitney's room, because Simone's like, yeah, you're right, I'm going to go in there. Before she goes in, Kay notices that there's romantic music being played coming from Whitney's room. And then Kay's like, okay, before you go in there, stay cool. Because now they have an idea that maybe something's going on in there with Whitney and Chad. She tells her to stay cool, just act like you're a loving sister. And okay, so Simone's about to go into Whitney's room, but they encounter Liz in the hallway, and Liz explains why she's there, that her parents have let her stay at the house and everything. And she's like, yeah, we met at the book cafe, remember? And Simone's like, oh yeah, I was there because my boyfriend works there. And Liz is like, your boyfriend? Chad, the young man that works at the book cafe? And she's like, yes, that's my boyfriend. We're so much in love. He's the best boyfriend ever. Liz knows that there's something between Whitney and Chad because that was what her whole conversation with Whitney was about at the book cafe. So Liz is a little I think she's a little confused about what's going on exactly. But she kind of keeps her mouth shut. So Simone then tells her, yeah, no, I was just about to check on my sister because she has a tournament in the morning and I just want to make sure she's okay. And so she enters her room without knocking, and which, I don't know. Do you have siblings?
I do, yes.
When you were, I don't know, in your teenage years, did your siblings just walk in your room without knocking?
No, if the door was closed, you knocked first.
If the door is closed, you knock first.
Especially at night.
Yeah, especially at that age.
Mm-hmm.
You knock first. So anyway, she walks in without knocking. I guess, she probably was hoping to catch her in some kind of, I don't know. When she walks in, Whitney wakes up, right? She walks in and Whitney is in there by herself with all of these candles lit with this romantic music playing. And Whitney is like, oh, what's going on? And Simone says to her, oh, I'm so sorry, Whitney. I'm so sorry. I didn't realize you were asleep. I heard the music. And Whitney says, oh yeah, I was just trying to relax and I must have fallen asleep. I just wanted to relax before my tournament tomorrow. And Kay is like, you fell asleep with all of these candles lit? And Whitney's like, oh yeah, I'm stupid, right? Oh, and she starts to blow out the candles. And so Simone takes this at face value. She's
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, my sister was in there just sleeping. She's just trying to relax with some romantic music and 1,000 candles lit around her. What's her name doesn't buy it. Kay doesn't buy it.
No.
Liz also comes in the room. She sees Chad under the bed. Chad gives her a signal to not say anything. So, Liz sends Kay and Simone outside to get her other suitcase. She says, oh, girls, I left my suitcase outside. Could you please go get it? And when they leave, she closes the door behind them. And then Whitney looks at her and is like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. I promise I'll explain everything that's going on. But, thank you. You saved us. Chad comes out and he's like, yeah, you really said that was a close call, blah, blah, blah. Right. And so Whitney, let me see. Sorry. Where am I? Yeah. Whitney and Chad thank her and she promises to explain later. Liz says, and she begs her, Whitney begs her not to tell anyone what she's seen. Mm-hmm. And Liz agrees. And she says this in almost like a really, I don't know, it felt sinister, saying it'll be our little secret.
Yes.
Didn't it feel sinister?
It felt sinister. And at the time I was like, oh, that's kind of creepy. But we know why she wants to keep it a secret. Is there something else she can use?
Exactly. It felt very sinister. So outside, Kay is suspicious of this whole situation. Simone doesn't believe anything was going on, but Kay's like, no, that was so weird. I don't care what you think. That was very weird. Kay's right. That was weird. That was very weird. Then they see Chad trying to sneak off the property. Simone sees him and she's over the moon. Chad, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you came to see me. And he's like, yeah, I just stopped by to say goodnight. And she's like, you want a soda? You want some food? I'm going to go get some food for us, okay? I'm going to go get us something to eat. And he's like, okay, thanks. And so she and Kay go to the kitchen and Kay tells her, no, this is not good. She tells her something is going on. And I do not believe that it's just a coincidence that Chad happens to be here while Whitney's upstairs in her room with candles and romantic music. And so Whitney then, this made no sense to me. Whitney catches up with Chad outside of the house, which why wouldn't they this was weird to me too, that Simone offered to give him food or something to drink, but she doesn't take him to the kitchen with her. Like he's standing outside waiting for her to come back with food when he could have just gone to the kitchen where she was going to make a sandwich or whatever she was going to do. And they sit down and have the little sandwich and then he leaves. But he didn't do that. He just stood there waiting for her to come back. So in that time, Whitney very stupidly, very dumbly goes outside to tell Chad, I just wanted to give you a proper good night. And he's like, I hate this, Whitney. I hate all this sneaking around. I don't want to have to do this. And, hopefully we can stop doing this after you win this tournament or whatever. And she tells him they won't have to sneak around for long. They kiss. And then this is when Chad says, hopefully they can stop sneaking around soon. And she says, he says, like, after she wins the tournament tomorrow. And she says to him, well, I might have to win more than one before we can stop doing this stupid ass plan. She's like, I told you I have to like show my dad that I can win. And I don't think one tournament will be enough. And in the meantime, you can show Simone that you're not right for each other. So she'll break up with you. And she just assures him like, this is going to work. We just have to stick to the plan, baby. It's going to work. And then we'll be together. And then they kiss again. But this time, Simone and Kay are standing there watching kiss. Because of course they are. This is Simone's home.
Yeah.
She lives here. If you're trying to hide something from her, maybe don't do it at her house.
So
stupid.
The only thing different about this time, aside from Kay being there, is that she doesn't get run over.
Oh, Lord, that was so funny when she just ran out into traffic. But yeah, the Kay's there to kind of hold her back, I guess. But that's like where we ended with them this week. I'm interested to see where this goes.
Which means this night will continue, probably.
Yeah. Surely they're going to turn over this day at some point. Good God.
Eventually.
So, yeah, that's all I have for them. So now we're going to get into Theresa, Ethan, and Gwen. My faves. My faves. So, Theresa goes to talk to Ethan in like the, what do they call it? They don't call it the atrium. They call it something else, but whatever. Who cares? So what? Who cares? She goes to talk to Ethan saying like, oh, I gather you have some good news for me, because Whitney had told her that, she should go and congratulate Ethan and Gwen on their engagement. So, and just like be the more mature and be mature and be the bigger person or whatever. So Theresa goes in with the intention of, hearing this bad news and taking it well, right? But she gets in there, she sees Gwen kind of coming back, and she notices immediately, because Gwen's like holding 2 cups. So she sees that Gwen is not wearing that engagement ring on her finger. So she realizes Ethan did not propose to Gwen. And so she says that to him. She says, oh, I gather you have some good news to tell me. But then she backpedals. She's like, oh, don't worry about what I was talking about. Nothing. Don't worry about it. He goes off to God knows where. I honestly, again, we watched this on a watch party, so I was paying attention, but I wasn't taking great notes.
Well, we never see where he goes anyway, so.
Yeah. So, this is when Gwen comes back in, and Theresa gloats to her, saying, I see Ethan hasn't proposed to you yet. And Gwen says, but he's going to. Don't worry about it. He will. Ethan will propose to me. And Theresa says, if Ethan really loved you, no one could steal him. Oh, because Gwen says to her, he hasn't proposed to me yet, but he's going to, and you're not going to be able to steal from me this time. You stole him from me before. And this is when Theresa says, if Ethan really loved you, no one could steal him away from you. And I love that, because that's how I feel in general about like, cheating and stuff. It's bad. It's terrible. It's awful to go after somebody who is already in a relationship with somebody else, for sure. I will always say that, even in the context of Theresa, Ethan, and Gwen. However, it's not all that person's fault. They didn't steal that. She didn't steal Ethan, because you can't steal somebody. You can't make them leave someone else, right? He did that all on his own. They go back and forth. Gwen accuses Theresa of causing Ethan to run off to her rescue again. She's like, every time he was going to propose to me tonight, you kept interrupting, or he had to run off to your dying baby. And Theresa's like, my baby almost died tonight, Gwen. I was scared to death that I would lose him. So scared, in fact, that I promised God that I would leave Ethan alone forever if he'd let my baby live. I gave up the most important man in my life, the man that I've loved since I was a little girl, to save my son. But that's not what you did. Oh my God, Theresa. I love this little crazy girl. She keeps changing her little story here, because last week it was, the bargain she made was, God, if you save my son, I will leave Ethan alone if he wants to marry Gwen. But then once she saw that he didn't propose tonight, in her head, that means that he does not want to marry Gwen at all. And so then she doesn't have to keep up her bargain with God anymore, right? But now she's saying that the bargain was that I gave up Ethan. I told God that I would give up Ethan if he saved my son. That's 2 different bargains, babe. You're saying 2 different things. Unfortunately, I was willing to kind of let her slide on the technicality last week. I really was. Because I love a good semantics moment. But this one is like, you're telling Gwen, that's not what you said. That's not what you were saying last week, but whatever. She goes on to say, Ethan was free to ask you to marry him tonight after the crisis, after my baby was all right. And guess what? He didn't ask you to marry him. He didn't ask. And I had nothing to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
This one, Gwen tells her, Theresa, you always have something to do with it. You are relentless in your sick and twisted obsession with Ethan. Even after he's told you time and time again that he wants nothing to do with you and your lies, your deceptions. For her to say, Theresa, you always have something to do with it, I just don't like the way we absolve Ethan of all his wrongdoing, right? Because he's leaving you behind to go be with Theresa over and over again. And yes, you can blame Theresa for it if you want to, but the fact is, if he didn't want to do it, he wouldn't.
Exactly.
He wouldn't. If he didn't want to be there with Theresa, he wouldn't have gone up there and been with Theresa. You know, I get whatever. So she just needs somewhere to put her anger, and it's always on Theresa. It's more on Theresa. We have seen her get mad at Ethan, but I feel like she needs more smoke for Ethan than she typically has. Then Theresa tells her, God knows that Ethan should be with me and not you. I love that. God knows that Ethan should be with me and not you, Gwen. And she says, he saved my baby tonight, and he kept Ethan from asking you to marry him because he knows that Ethan and I belong together. So things are looking up for me, Gwen. My baby's all right, and I have another chance with Ethan. You know what? She's crazy. I love her.
Me too.
I love her. She's gonna make it work. Well, she's gonna make she's gonna make anything that happens fit her narrative. She is. Oh, talk about confirmation bias, right? Like
yes.
She's gonna make whatever happens fate, and it fits her narrative. So meanwhile, Ethan, we do find out where he goes. He's upstairs with the baby for some reason. And I wrote, and I think I probably have made this joke before, but I'm gonna make it again because it's funny. I wrote, meanwhile, Ethan talks through his feelings with his intellectual equal, little Ethan. Because they're on the same level, brain
They
wise.
really are.
Yeah. And he tells the baby, he's like cooing over the baby, and he says, your mommy is an amazing mother. Theresa, she's a wonderful person, and I love her. Guess I'll always love her. But has she changed? I don't know. Because also, I love Gwen. I loved Gwen before I even met Theresa, and she's a wonderful person too. I just don't know what to do. I don't want to hurt anyone. I just want to do the right thing. I'm just not sure I know what the right thing is. So he's having these doubts, right? Phyllis overhears this whole situation, him talking to the baby. But I do want to talk about what he has said. First of all, telling that baby, your mommy is an amazing mother. I've seen no evidence to back up that claim. I haven't. That baby should be at a hospital. That baby should be at a hospital. Then he says, Theresa's a wonderful person. Okay, fine. You love her. Okay, great. I'll always love her. Ooh, okay. And then he's like, but, has she changed? I don't know. Then we get into the Gwen stuff, and he's like, I also love Gwen. It feels like an afterthought.
Yes.
Right?
It very much does.
It feels like, but Gwen's there too. Gwen's great too. I don't know. It just doesn't feel like the passion, the raw emotion is there. But yeah. So Phyllis overhears all of this. She later tells Theresa what she overheard, but only the Theresa portions. She did not say. He also said a lot of the same things about Gwen, but this has inspired Theresa to believe that she has another chance with Ethan, right? And she's ready for him to propose to her tonight. She thinks he's gonna propose to her tonight. With the proposal on this night makes no sense for anybody. This has been a crazy, insane, long day. Let's start fresh tomorrow.
Yes.
Start fresh tomorrow. I wouldn't want to be proposed to on the same day that I almost died.
Exactly. I was going to say, not only did little Ethan almost die, but big Ethan almost died too.
Yeah, both Ethans almost died. And Theresa almost died. You know,
Mm-hmm.
Whitney and Julian almost died. This is a bad day. It's got, I think I said this last week. This day has bad juju. You don't want to, you really want this to be the anniversary of the day that you propose?
Exactly. And isn't it the same day that Miguel proposed to Charity? Because that enough in itself is bad juju.
Is this the same day? No.
No? I really can't remember.
No. I don't know. It's so tough to keep up. It's a tough thing to keep up with. I don't think so though.
Okay.
I don't think so. Because that felt like a really long time ago. But yeah, it could be. But it actually could be. So meanwhile, Ethan is, after he talks to the baby, he goes downstairs outside and he's contemplating with that stupid ass ring that he bought, and he's trying to figure out which one should I marry. He says he says to himself, I have to make a decision tonight. Why? This is maybe one of the most, not maybe, this is one of the most important decisions of your life. Why rush it?
Exactly. Take some days or weeks even.
Why rush it? And also, if you're having thoughts like this where I'm not sure I could go either way about a marriage, you are not ready to marry anyone. You should not be marrying anyone at all. What the fuck, Ethan? At one point, God, this was so weird. At one point, he's like looking at two pictures, one picture of Gwen and one picture of Theresa, these little wallet-sized pictures. And it's like, what are you doing still carrying around wallet-sized pictures of Theresa if you're with Gwen?
I thought they were bigger than wallet size. I was like, who carries around 4x6s of like individual professional shot photos?
Yeah, he's carrying around their portraits. And he's like sighing over like, oh, which one? Who should I choose? Which one should I choose? Like it's he's choosing between tacos or burgers.
It really is.
And Gwen's watching through the window upstairs, like, Ethan's out there. He's gonna propose to one of us tonight. I know it. I hope it's me, And then she has a conversation with that mother of hers, Rebecca, who tells her that she says, you need to follow that little fajita's example and go work your charm on Ethan. And Gwen says, Ethan has to make his own decision, and I will not lower myself to Theresa's level. I am not going to use tricks, lies, or any sort of manipulation. If Ethan wants to marry me, he'll ask me. I love that coming from Gwen. That's like that's like smart, mature. You don't want to be with a man that doesn't want to be with you.
Exactly.
Well, So I'm gonna give Gwen a little credit. I'm gonna give her flowers this week. Gwen did a lot of stuff that I really agreed with this week.
Same.
She was flirting with becoming powerful, like truly powerful. And I like that about her. I want to see her take her power back from Theresa and Ethan. I really do. She lets Theresa get very much under her skin, and she lets Ethan get away with stringing her along all the time, So to you, Maria, this week, I'm going to be very easy on Gwen. Very easy on Gwen. Because she did a lot this week that I liked. So, including saying, I'm not gonna use tricks or lies or any sort of manipulation. If Ethan wants to marry me, he will ask. Rebecca is like, no, we need a plan. We have to figure something out. We have to come up with a scheme. But Gwen again refuses. She says, no more plans, no more schemes. I'm exhausted. I am not going to crawl into a hole and die if Ethan chooses Theresa. I have a great career. I have wonderful friends. I ain't seen them. I have a life with or without Ethan. Unlike Theresa, I don't need a man to make me feel whole. If Ethan does choose me, I will be deliriously happy. But if he doesn't, I will survive. I will get on with my life and I will be just fine. Fine, 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 fine. Ooh, she'll be just fine. And she will survive. First I was afraid. I was petrified. But she will survive. And get on with her life.
That's the Gwen I like and would love to see more of.
Same. This is the Gwen I like. This is the Gwen I can get behind. This is a Gwen I can get behind, right? She's 100% on the money. So at this point, Ethan decides to go and talk to Theresa first. So because Ethan spoke to Theresa and went to Theresa's room, Gwen feels she's lost. It's over. He's going to Theresa. It's done. He's going to propose to her. She's pretty devastated about it. Understandably so. She does, love him. And remember, their rooms are adjacent, so they're listening through the door. Gwen is trying to listen through the door at what this conversation is. But yeah, she's devastated. She thinks he's chosen Theresa, and she says, "You know what? I'm leaving." And Rebecca says, what are you doing? She's like, I'm leaving this house. I'm getting out of this house. And she starts packing her bag. Yes, get out of this house. I've been saying that. Get out of this house. It's Theresa's house.
Exactly.
It's Theresa's house. So you're gonna have to see her, right? So Rebecca just spends so much of this week just trying to get Gwen to fight for Ethan, not to give up. She says, you can't just hand Ethan over to Theresa. And Gwen says, no, I can see the writing on the wall. And for whatever reason, Ethan has chosen Theresa, and I'm not going to crawl to him. I'm not going to beg him to take me back. That is Theresa's MO. I have got to finally get on with my life. I'm not going to crawl. I'm not going to beg. Because Theresa do be begging. She does. She begs him a lot.
She does.
That is her MO. She is on her knees, crawling, scraping for Ethan. I hate it. It's something I hate about her, to be honest. But she says she has to get on with her life. I love that. I love it. Come on, Gwen. Yes. So then Gwen makes a phone call. She calls somebody named Sheila, and she accepts a job offer in New York. She says, I had a job offer waiting for me, and I hadn't decided if I was going to take it yet because it's in New York, and Ethan and I have been trying to work things out, but it seems like he's going to choose Theresa, so I'm getting the fuck up out of here. I'm going to New York. Rebecca advises her not to give up and to fight fire with fire by pleading her case the same way Theresa did. But Gwen begins to falter under the weight of her mother's judgment, right?
Yes.
She begins to falter under her overbearing mother. Now, there are those who absolve Gwen to an extent because a lot of the shitty things she does going forward were Rebecca's plans, Rebecca's schemes. Rebecca was the one who put her up to it. I get that a little bit, but at the end of the day, Gwen is a grown woman and she does what she does. She did what she did. And I will say the same thing. I will always say the same thing about Theresa, but a lot of times people say like Theresa's worse because it was her idea. And it's like, but so in a way, it's like worse for you to hear a bad idea from somebody, something like mean and nasty and horrible, and you know that it's bad, and you still do it, right? So,
yes, Theresa will justify it to herself all day long.
Yeah, but
I
just said that to say that this is kind of very much the beginning of really Rebecca and Gwen starting to do their like scheming and stuff together. Yes, they have done some things in the past, mainly the tabloid situation, but up until now, I feel like Gwen hadn't been doing a lot of like, underhanded things as much necessarily. No. But we're about to get into it, I think. So okay, Rebecca advises her not to give up and tells her that she needs to take a page out of Theresa's book and go in there and interrupt them, right? She says you can just go in there and interrupt and I don't know, make something up, make up an excuse to get in their way. And Gwen says, no, I'm not that manipulative. I'm not going to be that manipulative. Rebecca says, well, it's high time you were. Look, if you want Ethan to be your man, if you want to spend the rest of your life with him, then you have to stop being this goody goody little society girl and get down and dirty. Do anything to do anything to get what you want. Anything, whatever it takes. And Gwen kind of gets pulled back in. Gwen gets pulled back in by her mother. She's like gonna fight for Ethan, I guess, and she starts listening in on Ethan and Theresa in the next room again. She's like, again, pulled back into this nonsense, these shenanigans. Meanwhile, in Theresa's room, Ethan has shown up, and Theresa just starts like frantically just talking. I didn't write any of it down. She's just like, oh, Ethan, do you want something to eat? Have you eaten yet? I can call for some tea. Would you like some tea? No. Would you like coffee? No, it's too late for coffee. What? Like, she's just whatever. And he's like, girl, calm down. I have something I want to talk to you about.
I was watching on 1.5 speed, and I didn't slow it down for this, but I literally could not understand her.
It was insane. I was watching it at like 1.5 and 2.2 times speed. So yeah, it was insane. It was actually insane. But yeah, she's frantically just word vomiting to him. I guess because she's nervous. And so then she notices him holding that ring, and she's like, oh, you still have the ring? Why haven't you proposed to Gwen? Like you said you would. You said you were going to propose to her. Why didn't you? And he says that he wants to make sure that he's doing the right thing. He tells her that everyone he's been talking to has been telling him, like, I need to make certain that I'm marrying the right woman. And she says to him, so are you saying to me that you don't think Gwen is the right woman? Right. Yeah. Because why are you telling me this unless you're ready to propose?
Exactly.
And then he talks about trust and honesty, and he says, I know I can trust Gwen completely. And then Theresa gives a speech. I took part of her speech down, but she said a lot. Theresa gives a speech about how she's like, you know what? I'm still a liar. And she says, I'm not being completely honest with you. So she says, I tried really hard. I made all these resolutions, but I ended up breaking them because I was afraid of losing you. I lied, Ethan. I knew that you didn't give Gwen that engagement ring. I saw her tonight in the solarium. I saw that she didn't have on a ring on her finger, and I asked her about it. We got into this big confrontation, and now here I am asking you about it like I don't know the answer. I don't know why I do this. You're the one person in this world that I cannot be completely open and honest with. And I know how much you hate that in me. And God knows that when it comes down to love, I'm my worst enemy. And then she says, whenever I lied to you, Ethan, I thought I had a good reason. But the one thing I never, ever lied about is being in love with you. And you have to believe that. And then he's like, he's touched by what she's telling him. He says, you would do anything for me, Theresa. Being put to death to spare my life, throwing yourself down the elevator shaft. And she's like, and I would do it again, gladly. And Ethan is like impressed with Theresa being honest with him. He calls it a breakthrough. He's like, it seems you've had a breakthrough here, Theresa. And I'm closer to trusting you now than I've ever been before, which is a weird thing to say to somebody, but okay. And she says she's grateful, even if it's too late for them. She's grateful for him to say that she's grateful that he's saying that he kind of trusts her. I don't know.
Yeah.
But she says, even if it's too late for us. And then he says, it's not too late, child. Nobody will ever convince me that he was not about to choose Theresa. Nobody will ever convince me that he was about to choose Theresa.
I think so too. That's exactly why I thought he went there.
He says it's not too late. He gently caresses her face, touches her hair, is touching her neck and her ear, right? And he says, look at me. I'm here talking to you, not to Gwen. Nobody's ever going to convince me he was going to choose Gwen over Theresa based on that line alone, where he says it's not too late. I'm here talking to you, not to Gwen. I mean, So Gwen again tries to give up because she heard that. She heard that.
Mhm.
And frankly, if I had heard that, there's no going back.
Exactly.
There's no going back. But I do think I know what happens. It's been a long time, but I do think I know what happens here. Gwen tries to give up again, and Rebecca pushes her to keep fighting. She tells her, we always get what we want. We never say die. And Gwen, because we're Goonies. But Gwen refuses. She says to Rebecca, like, it's over. I've lost. I'm going to New York. Then Rebecca's like, well, if you won't do it, I'll do it myself. And then she like yelps like, ah, and then she falls to the floor. Thinking that Ethan and Theresa would come into the room, but they heard it and were like, huh, what was that? And shrugged it off.
Yeah.
So it didn't do anything. Gwen tells her to knock it off, tells her to get up. It's over. She says, do you really think that it's going to make me happy to force some man to be with me when he doesn't want to? If Ethan prefers Theresa, so be it, because I can't do this anymore. The sooner I get to New York and start this job, the sooner I can actually start to feel good about myself. Gwen has been feeling bad, and I have been saying that Gwen has low self-esteem. I said that a long time ago. And Ethan is the source.
Yes.
Ethan is the source. And like she said, the sooner she gets on with her life, the sooner she'll be able to start feeling better about herself, start feeling good about herself. Because she's chasing after a man that does not want her. He already threw you over. Honestly, the fact that he left her the night before their wedding should be more than enough for us to have never seen Gwen again. Right?
Yes.
But no, she hung around until he was willing to kind of pick her up again and play with her again, like a little toy that he had forgotten about. It's like in Toy Story. It's like in Toy Story. Gwen, I guess, would be Woody, and Theresa is Buzz Lightyear, right? And Ethan got tired of Woody and picked up Buzz Lightyear. But then at the end was like, you know what? I'm going to pick up Woody again. You know what? I got tired of playing. But he treats her like a toy. Puts her down when he's tired of her, picks her up when he wants to feel good about himself. He can't be alone. We have never seen him single, right? So
no, and we'll never see him with anyone else other than Theresa or Gwen.
Yep. And he uses Gwen as a backup. It's not fair to her, and I agree with her. The sooner I get out of here, the sooner I can start to feel good about myself. There's something about Chicago. I wrote nothing about it. It was a little joke. Rebecca does something about the men in Chicago. Like, why don't you move to Chicago? The men there have wide shoulders and they're so sexy. She gets lost in thought. And we get that. You know, we don't get that musical cue, but
it was similar though.
It's something like that. So then Gwen's like, no, I'm going to New York. I'm leaving this life behind. And Rebecca says, fine, go to New York and play the businesswoman to the hilt. You just eat, sleep, and breathe business. You can become a captain of industry, but when you come home, you are going to come home all alone. And the only thing that is going to keep you warm is the bottom line. Look at all those girls on Sex and the City. They're not happy. Being alone is a lonely existence. That is no way to live your life. Trust me. So again, this is Rebecca projecting onto Gwen. But the thing is, the difference between Rebecca and Gwen is Rebecca has never had like a life outside of a man, right? She's been building her life, centering her life on men her entire life, right? And Gwen has a career. Rebecca doesn't have a career. She doesn't have anything to fall back on. Gwen has a career. She'll go to New York. She'll find a man who is more than happy to be with her, that she loves and he loves her, and they'll be probably extremely successful together. Yeah. Right? And have a wonderful life together. Like, she doesn't, just because she has chosen to leave Ethan does not mean she will be alone.
No, and her life certainly is not over. She could even take Hank, because I ship them.
Yeah, her and Hank. She's too good for Hank.
True.
She's too good for Hank. She's too good for Ethan.
Mm-hmm.
She's too good for Harmony. I know I talk shit about Gwen, but that's more between the Gwen and Theresa like rivalry. And it's my thing with Gwen has never been like I don't like who she like her. It's the things that she says and does and how she acts and reacts to things that I'm like, girl, come on. And a lot of times it's because you're too good for this, babe.
Mm-hmm.
You're too good to be acting like this.
Yes.
You have an MBA. You're an heiress, for God's sake. You're rich. You could be anywhere in the world, and you're here fighting with a teenager, right?
Yes, she is.
I don't know. So yeah. So anyway, she asked if he's decided who to give the. Okay, Theresa.
We go back to Theresa and Ethan for a hot minute.
Theresa asked Ethan, "Have you decided who you're going to give that ring to?" And he says yes. At this point, Gwen is like packing her bag. She's done. She's ready to go. And then she gets a little dizzy spell. Mm-hmm. And she falls to her knees. Rebecca thinks it's an act. She's like, oh, good. Yeah, you do it. You do it. That's perfect. But no, Gwen is actually in distress. Something is wrong with her. I already said dizziness is the international passion signal for this ego's prego. So. That ego's prego. So that is it. We made it. I made it, and we got done before 3.
Yay!
So that is it for part 2 of the week. And Shane, where can the people find you online?
You can find me on Blue Sky at Shane Lee Miller, on TikTok at Shane Lee Miller 11, and on Instagram / Threads, either or, at Shane Lee _ Miller with 1 L.
Perfect. And like I said last week, you can catch me on the Patreon, on the Discord, and also, again, just reiterating, if you're looking for some new music to listen to, I have released my own little EP of 5 songs. It's called Root Beliefs. And I would like some people to follow me on my like artist pages at LT Lee. Actually, I honestly don't even know but my little stage name is LT Lee. But I don't even know what my ads are.
I found you on Instagram, so I can tell everyone she's on there.
I am on Instagram. I'm on my artist pages are only on Instagram and TikTok. So,
okay.
Yes, please, I would love it if you follow me and if you would stream my music, please. I would love that. Again, please do not tell me if you hate it. If you love it, though, please tell me. I need the encouragement. So, with that, you are my passion for life.